So probably if more people are coming, I'm going to let them enter in the session. Please make sure you all mute your speaker and the mic that is on your left-hand side. In case if you are having any question, we'll take Q&A later on after the session will finish. So welcome you all officially, Research Update Organization and API Medical Student Resident Fellow group welcomes you all and congratulations all of you on acceptance of your oral presentation or poster presentation. And we are very glad that you are going to present your work and we are providing one of the platform. Especially we are thankful to API for organizing such wonderful event, and also thankful for them that they are giving us the platform to give you such wonderful webinar as well. So today's session, we are going to talk about how to make award-winning poster and oral presentation. So basically, most of you have received the email whether you are accepted for poster presentation or oral presentation, or if you have not, probably you can wait for a few more hours or 1 or 2 more days and you are going to get that one. Today we are going to cover some important aspect of presentations, presentation as overall, and presentation strategies. Few things are very important when you are talking about presentation. When you're presenting yourself, you are not presenting just a part of the research. You are presenting your research skill. You are presenting yourself. You are marketing your research work, and you are marketing yourself. So when you are presenting in a conference in API or anywhere, virtually or physically, there are some aspect which you need to make sure about, so that you are going to have a chance or to impress more people. You are going to have chance to sell yourself or sell your work. So ultimately, more contacts, more networks, more interviews for residency or fellowship, whatever you are aiming for, and more success. So without wasting much of our time, let's start the main event. Let me just quickly go through the key dates. The conference is on 19th to 21st of February, upcoming weekend. The presentation submission deadline is on 19th of February, 12:59 p.m. Afternoon EST, and symposium date is February 21 from 10:30 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. So make sure you sign up for the event and mark your calendar. So let's start the session, how to make award-winning poster and oral presentation. Today's agenda will be number 1, oral presentation, number 2, poster presentation, and number 3, how to upload your poster once it is accepted, of course. So we are going to start with oral presentation first. We are not going to take much time on oral presentation because there will be very few people whose oral presentation whose presentation has been accepted as oral presentation category. But basically I want to emphasize more here because probably today you are applying for residency or you are a resident and tomorrow you are going for your residency. So such type of oral presentation, you are going to make it. Many more oral presentation you are going to make it. So whether you are presenting your work in API or in national conference or international conference or at your particular place, this is something you are going to learn here, and that will be helpful to you always. Okay, so let's start talking about the basic timing. Number 1, you are going to get approximate, anywhere you are presenting, depend on the podium, you are going to get 10 to 15 minute of timing. Out of 10 to 15 minute of timing, sometime it is less, sometime it is more. But if you are having 10 minute, probably you can speak about 10 minute and 5 minute will be Q&A. If the conference is not having much time, then you are going to get 5 minute of oral presentation and 3 minute of approximately, or 2 minute of Q&A session. So depend on the timing you are going to prepare the slides, of course, right? And what I am doing it, usually if I'm having 10 minutes of time, then I'm making sure that I spend 1 minute 45 seconds to 1 minute on each slides. First two slides, last two slides are not important at all, kind of acknowledgement and thank you and these and that. So we don't want to count that one, but substantial slides which we need to focus on, that will be mainly, I can say, multiply by 1.5. So if you are getting 5 minutes, then you can have it 7 to 8 slides. If you are having 10 minutes, you can have 11 to 15 slides, depend on how many slides they are asking for. Okay, so let's talk about slides number one. The slide number one is usually having the title of the study. You are going to put the picture, or one picture or two picture of your institution, or your, let's say, the presentation where you are presenting. If you are presenting at API, or you are presenting at American Medical Association, or Academy of Neurology, or American Heart Association, depend on wherever you are presenting, you can put the picture of that. Presented by, there will be few rules. Basically, that project is, though presented by one person, but the whole team is been involved. So either you can put the presented by the full name, their position, their email address, their institutional affiliation and email address. Either you are having that option, and in the next slide you are going to write the whole team member's name. That is must, because though it is your presentation, but the project is been completed by whole team. It is the effort of the team, right? So either you are going to write everyone's name here, or you're just going to write the presented by you. And contributors slide, there will be many authors, all authors name will be in the contributors slide. So depend on what you choose. Ideally, if you don't want to make it mix and congested, you can simply choose this option, putting contributors in separate slides with financial disclosure. Without this financial disclosure, none of the presentation will be complete, because all presentation you are going to make it post, not post a presentation, oral presentation. Those presentation will be original studies. So all original studies must have financial disclosure and funding, which you are going to mention it here. Then we are going to talk about few important aspects of introduction part. Now, when you are presenting, definitely now you have submitted to API, and your presentation has been accepted. So you are not going to make a drastic change in your abstract. But in general, whenever you are submitting your presentation, and your presentation, oral presentation, poster presentation is different story. We are going to talk about poster presentation later on. But for oral presentation, when the presentation has been selected for oral presentation, in that case, if the abstract is having 2 line of introduction, then you cannot put 2 line of introduction in oral presentation. For oral presentation point of view, you need to talk about few important aspects. So here is my very simple rule which I follow for oral presentation. Always make introduction of 5 to 7 line. That means one or two slide. Usually in my one slide there will be 2 or 3 lines. So that will be like three sentence in one line, 3 sentence in another line. Where the number one I usually focus on in first 2 line. I'm just writing here. Yeah, first 2 line I'm focusing on the epidemiology of the disease in one line, or CDC data, or global burden of disease data, CDC data, global burden of disease data, or WHO data. Any of the data, I just pick it up and I just write 2 line on that particular thing. If you're finding out more, that's different story, but you are not going to get time again. So those 2 line should be very impactful, that is keeping the interest of the audience throughout the presentation. if you are starting with very loose introduction and then you are it's little bit boring, then people will lose their interest, and then ultimately they are not going to listen much detail towards the hectic part. Hectic part is the result section, right? So that's why you just focus on key numbers, let's say 1 out of 4 and 7 or 6 or 12%. So you talk about that way, that will be 1 or 2 line. The second two line or second paragraph, I can say, you focus on basically what is the pathophysiology of that disease, or if you don't have pathophysiology particularly involved in that disease, then particular let's say case, let's say you are having some disease and you are having risk factor cases and control and risk factor, then you are going to identify 1 or 2 past published study, and you are going to cite those 2 or 3 study, just 2 study, not much. You're going to write one line on those 2 studies, what we can say past studies, the studies published in the past. Those 2 line you are going to write it. So total probably you are taking the reference of those line, and whatever you the references you are making it, make sure you're writing on the bottom. Can you see that here in the abstract you don't need to write the references, but for introduction you need to write the reference, because in Q&A session, in case someone is asking you about, let's say, from where that line came from, then you should have the reference. Okay, so 2 line for epidemiology, 2 line from the study that published in the past. So what I did was, for example, two studies or 3 studies published in the past. So you just write past few studies if you want to. Okay. Now, if you want to write in detail, if you're having more time, that's different story. Like this presentation is somewhere you are talking about 15 minutes, then you double the number. But if usually if the presentation is 10 minutes, you don't require more than 2 slides for introduction. So 1 slide for epidemiology, 1 slide for past studies. These 2 slides which we are talking about is for a longer introduction, you don't need to worry about. And the third slide, what is the limitation, or what are the limitation that you identify from the previous study? 99% of the studies are having either limitation of small sample size, or they are not having a huge burden, or they are not adjusted with many risk factor, or something is not clear. So any 2 or 3 limitation you can identify, and you can just write 2 or 3 limitation there. Why this limitation of the past study is very important for the introduction point of view? Because this limitation of the past study is giving you chance to create your question into the existence, because there was the limitation, or there are many limitation in the past study, and that is why you are doing the new study, just to fill the gap in the science, just to fill the gap in the science. So you bring up the 4th slide, right? What will be the objective and the aims and objective of the study? So now, aim and objective of the study, when I talk about aims and objective, I always grade. So abstract grading and oral presentation and poster presentation, API have sent on what basis they have graded, right? So usually what happen, abstract grading, I'm going to talk to you soon that how abstract grading take place. But when we are talking about poster presentation or oral presentation, then they are having some basic point of view which we need to think about, that whether introduction is sound, covering epidemiology data or not. If it is case report, completely different story, but still case reports are having introduction, case reports are having aims and objective. So some of the case report are, there are some rare case you identify, there are many case of common condition there present, but some rare presentation you identify, some rare management your institute did. So those are the aims and objective. You need to identify the outcome of that rare presentation, outcome of that rare disease, or outcome of that rare intervention. So there will be some aim and objective must involve some. So if the article, or not article, if the abstract or oral or poster presentation is not having primary objective, then according to me, it is not substantial. It is not substantial. It is just like a blind without direction. Then there is no meaning whatsoever to go further. If you want to go further, that is good. You can read the case and this and that, and you find out the rare presentation. But this line, the aim of the study is to present this. That is must. That is must. And when you are going for poster presentation and oral presentation, bonus point is if you are having your objectives or aim divided into either primary objective or aim one, secondary objective, tertiary objective, or secondary objectives. If you are having many objectives, so here if you are I'm having many objectives, then I can put secondary objectives, or you can do primary, secondary, tertiary objective, or aim one, aim two, 2A, 2B, 2C. So 2A maybe, let's say, will come to 2, but aim 1. So primary objective, let's say, to investigate the association between risk factor and the disease. Let's say primary objective was what? Whatever the primary objective was, that is to make sure you write in a capital if you want to, so that the people who don't want to read the whole line, you can just get it from like highlighting this part, that investigation of association between risk factor and risk factor associated loss of function or disability among migraine patient, or whatever. So primary objective you highlight. Secondary objectives, if you are having it, that also you can highlight. Identify the number one, 2A, 2B length, 2C cost, 2D discharge outcome. So you don't have to describe everything in detail, but overall you need to describe that what is the primary, number one, what is the secondary, number two. Now when we jump to methods, I have seen some of the people following that line wise approach, that we perform blah 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 blah, this type of study, this is the data. So long line they're writing in the oral presentation, as well as they're writing long lines in the poster presentation. So depend, you want to write long line, that's okay. If your communication skill is bad, if you are having problem with the grammar, if you are like not fumble with the talking, that you can write that thing so that you can just open the presentation and read. But my experience suggests that if you are writing point wise, and the point number one, study type, what is the type of the study, whether it's a prospective study, retrospective study, population based study, hospital based study, or retrospective cross sectional study, or quality improvement retrospective, or case control study of quality improvement study. There are main two subtype, and after that two subtype there are three more subtypes, so and that so on. So you can choose accurate name whatever is assigned to your study, and you can put in a one simple sentence that what is the type of the study. Then you can choose what is the uh, data, whether you use hospital for IRB, whether you use whatever. If it is case report, then what hospital's case report it was there. If you want to put the detail, you can put the detail. And the cohort, they mainly poster presentations are good for case reports and original studies, but usually the people who has submitted maybe um, um, original article, they may have oral presentations. Oral presentations are for original studies, they are doing it, but depend on the conferences, it varies. Okay, so usually the study type, data type, cohort type means the population at risk, what population you are identifying, that you are going to find out. Let's say if you are identifying, for example, stroke, then you are identifying stroke, what method you are using, whether you are using code or define, basically definition of the stroke, not the standard textbook definition, how you define by ICD code, CPT code, by sign symptom, by let's say MRI, by CT scan, whatever. So that is something you are going to write in the method section. So number one, study type. Number two, cohort. Number three, cohort definition. Cohort definition and study type will cover the duration if you are having long duration study, but definition of the cohort, cases and control which you choose. cases and control which you choose. And number 5, which risk factor you are trying to study. Number 5, which risk factor you are trying to study. So these are some of the important aspect which you are going to cover in the methodology. After that thing is finished, then most important slide number 2 will come. What is inclusion and exclusion criteria? Inclusion and exclusion criteria, we wrote it here that this is the less than 18 pediatric with missing data, is been excluded. So inclusion and exclusion criteria. And then you remember primary outcome and secondary outcome. So you can write primary outcome, define completely final primary outcome. How did you choose primary outcome? If it is one line, one line. If it is one table, one table. If it is two table, two table. Depend on how you define your primary outcome, write it there. If you need to define, you define. If you don't need to define, don't define. Secondary outcome, look, length of stay, you don't need to define length, cost, prevalence, but you definitely need to define discharge outcome, right? Discharge outcome is defined as what? So you can write in a short form, but you, when you're speaking, just complete the sentence. The discharge disposition or outcome was defined as home versus non-home. Non-home is equal to, or we consider non-home as short-term hospital, skilled nursing home, or home health care, etc., etc. So try to reduce the number of the words here so that more people can look into that and people can more listen whatever you are speaking into. Go little bit slow. Here we are going little fast just because of we have to cover so many things in short duration, that's why. But go slow, let them digest what you are trying to speak, okay? Otherwise everything will go above their head and then they don't understand that part. So after primary and secondary you reach to analysis. So in analysis, usually what you write, what software you use, what p-value you use as a significance, sample size if you use, then what sample size, and what test you did, whether you did univariable, multivariable, that is complicated thing. You can follow our clinical research education free videos. There you are going to get this idea about some of the analysis things too. But those are the thing you are going to write it in analysis section, that software, p-value or sample size, analysis type, what are the different type of analysis you use for whatever study, and if you have adjusted your model with multiple risk factor, then what model, whatever you model you adjusted. Now this is something you don't have to, this is the flow diagram basically, but you don't have to put it in the conference, but you just keep it here. So in case if Q&A session arises and someone is asking you how you come up with this number after inclusion exclusion criteria, then flow diagram will help you. Some of the flow diagrams are present online, so you can Google the flow diagram for observational studies and you will get many flow diagram. So you can pick up any flow diagram, convert your study into that flow diagram. Even for case report, you can write similar flow diagram, that you have this case, this is the presentation, these are the family history, past medical history, this, initial treatment, initial lab, then patient has severity, let's say COVID become more severe, then this is the ICU, and then ICU and then requirement of ventilation and the stat and their lab markers, and then what is the final outcome, whether patient discharged, whether patient died, whether patient discharged on XYZ medicine, whether patient developed complication, and after complication what happened. If everything is in just one flow diagram, if it is oral presentation, case presentation in oral presentation category is very rare, but if it is there, if you're preparing flow diagram, something like that, which is easy to understand by anyone, then it's huge success. It's huge success. I have seen case reports of some of the leading clinical trials where endovascular thrombectomy time increased from 6 or I can say 5.5 hours to 12 and extended to 24 hours down and diffuse trial. So they have mentioned that what time they have stroke from there to hospital, the helicopter was flying in that time was moving around patient, they have mentioned the patient information. So it was very nicely mentioned the case. So they were presenting a case, but it's an excellent way to present their case report. But that's okay. Here we are. So methodology section. Let me just write in a quick thing, rough idea. So we will have idea about. So number one, type of the study. Number one, type of the study. Number one. Number two, cohort, which cohort you're using, or hospital, or XYZ data, or stroke patient, or Hispanic, or African data, whatever cohort you're using, whatever the timeline, and IRB if you are having it, or QI. If it is QI, then IRB must be there. So if that detail, the third one will be definition of the cohort, definition of the cohort. Then what are the cases and what are the control you choose, and how you define that cases and control, how you define that cases and control. Then what is the risk factor, or what are the risk factor you choose, and how you redefine risk factor if it is required. um, in that, other than that, outcome definition, outcome and their definition. And then analysis, and then analysis. And in that analysis, number one, you are going to write software name, how you come up with p value or sample size, p value and sample size. And number three, most important, if you did analysis, multivariable or any type of analysis, univariable or multivariable analysis with any adjustment. You all remember your step one, step two, step three, effect modification and confounders, right? So whatever confounders or effect modifiers are there, their name if you want to write it. So if these things are there in methodology section, usually 5 points out of 10 are there for method. 5 points if we are grading the abstract. If it's a 5 point, if I'm getting all this information here in the abstract, the method is 5 out of 5. According to me, 5 out of 5. No question asked. If aim and objective is there and aim is of 2 points or 1 point, then you are going to get 2 out of 2. Okay. No one can depend on your speech, depend on your fluency, depend your appearance. There will be 1 or 2 point up and down at the end can occur. But if these bullet points are there, that means you are very accurate to identify all your concept of your methodology. Okay. So this is a quick brief info what you need to cover, whether it's abstract poster or abstract oral presentation. This section will be helping you to understand what are the subtitle you should include. Now result section, whatever was your primary aim and secondary aim, definitely you are going to make one separate paragraph on primary aim and secondary aim. But let's say my one thing was to identify prevalence, so I'm going to start the study. There are the prevalence of this, but beside primary and secondary aim, what are the important things which I prefer you to write if it is not poster, or even though it's poster, but you need to write the epidemiology. The epidemiology of the study means 35% were male, so you don't need to write 35 males. So of course there will be 65 that's female, right? So you just have to write 35% male, this percent of XYZ thing, this percent of that. If you're writing basic characteristic or basic percentage of the data, it will be giving idea to the reader what they are expecting. Okay. Every line has its own importance when we talk about result section, but that is not important right now. Important thing is that what you need to write, at least why you need to write is a whole different thing. Okay. So one thing is epidemiology, what usually people write it, but besides that, make a separate paragraph or separate slide for primary outcome. And if you are having any graph, try to have maximum visual graphics, visual presentation, so people will enjoy that thing. So if you are having this type of graph, it will be easy for people to understand without looking the number that hypocalcemia is increasing. So hypocalcemia is steady and vitamin D is increasing the year pass. It's very easy to identify if you are having graph. Such tables you can keep it if you are having the full length manuscript. Otherwise, leave it. You don't need to make it. But this table, this type of table, you can prepare very small table just for your own study, which we are going to show you in the abstract or in the poster how you can copy and paste. So this type of one table, at least people will expect from you to have it in your any of the oral presentation or poster presentation. Okay. So one was the primary outcome, right? So primary outcome deserve one separate slides. Secondary outcome also deserve one separate slide. So there will be two outcome, then two slides. You don't want to go with the more slides. So we talk about um, introduction, two slides. Limitation of the past study was the third slide. So total introduction become three slides, right? Aim and objective become fourth slide, right? Method become two more slide. Method become two more slide. If you want to have any picture in between, that's okay. But otherwise, if you have primary and secondary two objective, result will become two or three more slide. Depend on if you are having more picture or chart, you can make two or three more slides. So total 9 slide you already reach. See that 9 slide you already reached there. Now conclusion. Now according to me, conclusion should have um, whenever you are going, if it is a poster presentation or oral, conclusion should have two main concept covered. Number one, because this is the last few minutes, right? So a key take home message. Key take home message. So what is the meaning of take home message? Take home message means if someone forget everything about your study, just one line, if you want to make sure just one line person wants to remember, then what will be that line? So that take home message must be there with the bold later if you want to keep it. And the second thing, the future implementation of this study, how this study will be helpful, how this study will be helpful to address some of the important core concept, or even this case report, how identification of this case report, this symptom, this intervention, or this rare disease will help presentation of that, this rare disease will help uh, other case report to identify, right? So future take home message. So take home message and future implementation of this study, this two line must be there. If this two line are there, your conclusion is kind of completed, right? Conclusion is completed. Now if you are going for oral presentation, then you are going to add one more section. If you are going to have oral presentation, you are going to add one more section, which I'm going to, let me clear this screen so you will have more idea. Yeah. Which will be, because we are not writing discussion, right? So the limitation of the study, you identify in the past there are many limitations, and that's why you did your study. And of course your study is not completely unique and completely changing everything, so your study must be have some limitation too. So even though you don't want to describe too much limitation of your study in detail, but still write some major limitation of your study in 2 or 3 bullet point. Write the major limitation of your study. Even the case reports have limitations. Okay, so you fail to capture the data of outcome, what happened after follow-up, you fail to capture the data of comprehensive detail of something. Those are the limitation of the case report. I have seen many gastroenterology thing where they are having scopy, they don't have all images of scopy. So that's limitations, that you could not capture some of the information, put it in limitation. So your case limitation or study limitation, that is specifically I can say that if someone is having this type of study limitation, they identify their limitation, that means it's a bonus point. I can say that they should deserve, because not all the people write the limitation. And then in Q&A section, the audience, some of the people from audience will ask the question, oh, your study has this problem, you didn't address that. Then you have to write, oh yes, you are right, but that was the limitation. Then write it there rather than letting them ask you the limitation, or right. And there will be one or two paragraph, sorry, one or two slide, depend on your references, whatever references you put on the bottom, you can put it here, just list down. Then most important slide is the acknowledgement. If you have someone, university or some people or some institute who help you for the data, who help you to provide you platform to present your work, who help you by any way, you write it in acknowledgement section and thank you thing. So that will be the basic thing of presentation, oral presentation. So now before we are going to jump quickly to poster presentation. We'll take 1 minute of Q&A and then we'll jump to the poster presentation thing. Okay. Uh, Let me, yeah, you can unmute yourself and quickly have your question. Or probably you people can write and then at the later on we can adjust, write all the Q&A together. Probably that would be great. Okay.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, Rag, go ahead.
Good evening, sir. I'm Ragavi. Actually, I'm having a doubt regarding that you have mentioned the codes of the cohort study. No, sir. What does it mean? Is it regarding the previous studies of the those codes, or
So
should
it's a
we?
right. I understand. So basically, that is the definition of your cohort. If you define stroke as code, then it's a code for the stroke. If you define stroke by clinical sign symptom, then it's definition of the stroke by clinical sign symptom or by MRI. So it is a definition of your cohort. It was a definition of your cohort. Make sense?
Should we create them, or is it available in the
No,
online
so
itself?
so depend on the studies. Some studies require that code. Some studies require MRI to identify that. Some studies require, let's say, biomarker, the lab finding to identify that. So every study has definition of the cohort, definition of the risk factor, definition of. So every study defined by different way. So whatever way your study defined, you are going to write it. So that is the whomever has presented that study, their study has defined like that way. Make sense? So if you are doing your study at your hospital and then you are asking a question, do you have stroke? Yes or no? Then you define your stroke by yes or no answer. Make sense? So did your doctor tell you that you are having stroke? If they said yes, my doctor told me, then that is the definition of the stroke according to that study. Okay.
Sir, is it like we are measuring by using Likert scale? With respect to that, we are telling the codes.
Yes. So basically, this code is defining the condition of migraine or vitamin D deficiency in this study, right? But if I'm telling you to define migraine, so you will be defining migraine by different way in your hospital. Make sense? So depend on the resources. So if it is national data, then you use code. If it is central data, CDC data, then you use surveys. If it is hospital data, you use EPIC, electronic health record system. If it is quality improvement project and history has been already created, then that is on the basis of MRI finding you are going to identify. And if it is survey study, then simply you are going to ask to the patient and patient will say, yes, I had stroke or I had migraine. I didn't have migraine last year. So you define, every study has different definition for the same disease. So obesity for you is BMI. Obesity for my study may be simple, the history of obesity, or obesity for third person, they identify by waist circumference. Obesity for fourth person, they identify by something else. So by coding system, billing and coding system. So depend on the hospital, everywhere the system is different to identify disease. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. Okay, and before we jump to quickly poster presentation, if you want to have more detail about this presentation and then observational studies, clinical research education and everything, so you can go to the website and you can just go through all these videos which are available free of cost. Okay, if you are resident fellow and faculty, then you can also choose for this free consultation option, which you can use on the website, and then you can ask 30 minutes of free consultation. Like she asked me that how I should define stroke or anything for my study. So you can ask us this question, or you can plan the statistical support or biostatistical support or any of the QI related thing. And if you are interested in more training program like clinical research training program or mentor mentee program, if you want to go and do clinical hands-on to some hospital, then you can also have that facility on our website too. So you can use this API RxU100 code in order to access all this information and access this principle and practice of clinical research sessions. So before we jump to the poster presentation, I'm having in my email, let me share my screen. Hold on. Okay. Uh, okay. Um, in the email, you people must have received the sample poster. Now, my concern is to you, if you are having this sample poster, that does not mean everyone will be using the same template and will be publishing their poster. Everyone must change the color, the logo, the information. You must not keep this Rutgers and these things. Otherwise, when you're presenting, everything will look the same. Okay, so when we are going to upload your presentation, your posters in the journal, which I'm going to quickly cover on Curious, for the online access, it should not look one poster. Okay, it should have different colors, it should have different logos, it should have different title, depend on your affiliation. If you are in India and if you are associated with, let's say, Gujarat University, for example, then put the Gujarat University logo, we don't mind. If you are in Caribbean island and you are using AUA or Antigua or SGU, put their logo. Do not put the same logo, do not just use the same template. That is the overall thing I first of all I would like to tell you about. Okay, now I'm going to share some of the template with you as well. If you would like to put your email address, just put it there. So we are going to share 5 to 10 templates. So play with the color, play with the template, play with the logos, but use your own logo. Okay, don't use this logo. Now let me just share one of the similar kind of presentation. Okay, here. So now what we are going to do is, let's say you are having the poster presentation and you are having the design not design idea, sorry. Where is that? The insert. Okay, yeah. So insert. So if when API presentation you are doing that, and sometime they have told you that you can incorporate your pre-recorded video, you can simply incorporate your browse your movie, record your movie, and incorporate here on one of the section if you want to. If you want to incorporate just audio, you can do that. Even record audio, you can click button, and whatever you are recording, look, I'm speaking while keeping it open, and I'm stopping that and I'm inserting that. So can you see that it is, this button is here? So so when you are doing that, you can simply play this thing, click button, and whatever you are recording, look, I'm speaking with speaking. So this way you can put your video as well as audio, whatever you want to put into. So think about that, try to get some innovative thing for audio or video. If you want to put it on the right hand side corner or top, one side, use your own logo, your hospital or your academic institute or wherever you are affiliated with one logo, and you can use one corner for this type of video if you want to, right? So that will be easy for you uh, to run the video, and then you don't have to speak anything, everything will be spoken by itself. Now I'm just going to show you how you can make the poster very quickly within within, let's say, 5 minutes. I'm having one abstract here with me, and I'm opening that. So basically, hold on. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm sharing my all screen, so probably you will be having idea. Okay. So here is one abstract. Simply what you're, first of all, how to make it very quickly, I'm going to show you. Choose one of the template which we are giving it. Put your cursor next to the title, Control plus C, Control plus V. And here you are going to get the option paste. Paste, keep text only. If you put the keep text only, can you see? It will be exactly copy and pasting the previous, whatever the previous method was used. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly make it smaller. Keep the text. I got the thing. Then make sure you write everyone's name. If there are many name, if there are many name, here is the thing. I'm putting keep text only. Keep text only. So whomever has submitted previously, you can simply use their template, and you can change the color. You can play with some of the background here and there information, and then you can use this thing. Now if the names are many, then you can just put first initial, let's say J, and then the last initial K, first initial and full surname, P and full. So first name initial, last name full name. Okay, so simply you can do like that way. So it will reduce basically the length of the authors if you wish to, up to you. Now you are going to put the star, whomever is presenting the part, and you are going to only put one star here, and only the affiliation of that particular author. You don't need to put everyone's affiliation. Presenting author's affiliation. Presenting author's affiliation. If there are many presenting if there are many authors and everyone has different affiliation, presenting of author's affiliation will be here. The symbol of presenting author's affiliation will be on the left hand side or right hand side. And if there are two, first author and senior author, both are having equivalent value, then you can put two symbol and remove your speech. So up to you, but I'm just telling you this is the one way. Now introduction part, let's say I'm copy and pasting, and I'm putting on the end of this thing, and then keep text only. So keep text only will give me the access of using this whole format. I don't need to change the format, right? And then I'm simply going to make sure about going to home and putting such thing. I can change the heading. Don't write it everything like congested in a one sentence. So I'm going to put it here, keep the text only. So this is the one line. If there are many line, you can make enter. You can simply make enter. So every line will have separate point. But because it's only one line, so I'm keeping it one subtitle, or not subtitle, or just one dash. And there will be only one name. Then I'm putting one name, right? So now method section. Let's say if I want to put the method section, I'm copying, pasting the method. Copy, paste, keep the source article, keep the text only. Okay, keep the text only. Now the rule which we're talking about, that I don't want to write this long here. type of the study. Just showing you, okay? Type of the study. Then systematic review, systematic review, and meta analysis. Okay, protocol used Moose and Prisma. Okay, inclusion, exclusion criteria, it will be very easy to read for the reader. PubMed, full text English, full text observational studies, and that has data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this thing, and I'm going to change subtitle here as PubMed English. See, it will be more effective way to write this thing, full text observational studies. Data on laboratory findings and severity, like the hospitalization January to this. So these are the inclusion exclusion criteria, right? And then if I want to have it on another side, I can do that thing on another one. It's not necessary that I need to just going to write for now, putting in center. I'm just showing you brief idea, okay? I'm not going to make the whole thing and making you bored. Methods, continue. Okay, then open meta-analysis. This is the type, again software type, and this is the software type, individual from this, sensitivity and specificity we find out, so you put it. So this is the way you simply make the method, and then you can copy and paste similarly the result. You can copy and paste similarly the result, and you can copy and paste similarly to the conclusion. So right now we are just removing this part. Let's say if I'm finishing here everything, and I'm keeping the results, let's say results and conclusion here empty, for example. Now I want to put some of the pictures too. I want to put some of the pictures as well. So now my problem will be I need to have space for some of the picture, and my pictures are long, then I need to make sure that picture should be legitimately okay. This picture is not good. Let me just bring one of the picture. We'll just show you with the one picture so you will have idea. And then most important part which I would like you to see is the how it will look once it will print. That is most important. Otherwise sometimes you make a poster, you submit it, and then once it print it looks so bad. So that should not occur. So just hold on. Yes, I'm going to put one picture from here to here. So of course, when you're putting the presentation, oral presentation or poster presentation, sorry, not oral, poster presentation, oral presentation, you will be having enough space. But for poster presentation, you are not going to have enough space. So whatever space you are going to have it here, that space you are going to utilize it. So make sure arrange methodology in a way so that your background, method, and result should be completed somewhere here, so you will have space on the bottom line. Not all the thing will be complicated. Let's say this image is not that big if you want to accommodate. Make sure if you are having case report, remove the patient's identity. Okay, your patient's identity must not be there. So if patient's identity is there, that is not good, so remove that part. Otherwise journal will not publish it. So this, make sure you arrange the space in a way so that you don't have to worry about. So either you can arrange the space in a way that first of all you write your background, method, and everything, and then whatever spaces are leaving behind there you can utilize for the presentation point of view. One option is that, or you can choose some particular section of the project. Let's say this is one of the section. This is one of the section where I want to put my image, and this is, so this one fourth column, complete fourth column, I will be independently dividing for the pictures. So you can do whatever is comfortable to you. But once you are making it, I'm just keeping it for our knowledge purpose here. Once you are making it, make sure you convert this thing into 100%. You convert this thing into 100%. I'm just exporting this file. I want to show you something. Hold on. You all can mute yourself. Uh, so I'm just sharing my screen so you will have more information. Mm, I'm exporting this file. PDF, PDF. Opening this file in PDF. Open with PDF. Yes. So now here you will make it 100%. You are going to make it 100%. And after doing this 100%, whatever are the mistake, That is the mistake you're going to see even on your poster. So can you see this? This is the mistake, for example, right? So when this is the virtual presentation, so you don't have to worry about, but when you're going for actual presentation, this mistake will be there on the poster that you are going to print. So that won't look good. Okay, if there are sometime, can you see this is touching to the baseline, but this is not touching to the baseline. So those mistake you can see here. If this is very bright, sorry, if this is very unclear image, then you have to change it. But every time you have to focus about this 100%. If you are converting that as 100%, and whatever images are not clear after doing 100%, in that case you need to change the image. And if this is 100%, then in actual poster, this will be the poster look like. If your poster is, let's say, 2 each by 3 each, 3 each by 4 inch, depend on the size, but this will be the size of the character you are going to see. If you're thinking character is clear, that is great. If you're thinking character is not clear and there are such mistake like this, you need to fix it. Look, the height is different, right? For example, then you need to fix those things and you need to reconvert to PDF so that it will be easy for you to have a proper look. And after you finish that thing, then you can um, simply change the colors. After that thing, you can simply change all your colors if you want to. There are animation, but here you don't need to use animation. Let me use the design. So depend on the design, you can choose your design, or maybe you can choose colors from here. See, the color has been changed, right? So that's the way you can simply play with the color, whatever color you want to. If you want to remove the bottom thing, the bottom part. So if you want the gradients, you can create the gradients. Can you see? So you can play. Once you double click here, everything you can like literally change, but don't submit exactly same thing. So we don't want that thing. Whatever you got it in the example, that is the example, that is not the actual one. Okay, so this is how you're going to play with the color, you're going to play with the gradient, and you can then later on submit the part. Okay, this is the poster presentation, and I'm going to jump to quickly we'll take 5 more minutes and we'll wind up. Okay, so once your poster will be accepted, you are going to get the submission link. So there you are going to submit your poster, use the submission link which you will be getting. Then you are going to use this presentation to make sure to submit your research. You are going to click on submit the research. Poster category you are going to choose. Poster category you are going to choose. You are going to add your title, manually add the title, abstract, categories, keywords. And then in the meeting, you are going to choose American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin API Virtual Winter Medical Conference 2021. That is what you are going to choose once your poster is presented there. Then you will be adding author's name, add email address, and press the search button. Add email address, press the search button, and simply they will identify your name. If not, then you can manually type your first name, last name, email, and department. So that's how you're going to add author's name. If you are having one author, add one author name. If you are having 15 author, add all 15 authors name there. Okay, don't think that one author's name will be okay. If you are 10 author, you need to add 10 authors name. Okay, make sure, don't forget that. click on Click on the upload button, select the upload. You can use PDF, JPGs. The best way is JPG format, but JPG, JPEG, PNG, TIFF, PDF, all formats are good, but you can export. Use the button called export, and export as PDF. That will be easy for you to upload, convert that presentation into JPG, JPG, PNG, or TIFF format. I'm going to quickly show you. Upload your thing, upload your poster, and after uploading, click on summary button. Click on summary button. So it will show you how your poster and your abstract is looking like. Preview your work, preview your work, and click on publish button. Then we are going to access your thing, and then we are going to publish it. The whole process you will be doing it once you are presenting at API. Until unless you don't have to worry about. And then you can access your posters through here. Whenever you want to see lifetime access, you are going to have it for your posters or oral presentation or whatever you are doing it. And you are good to go. You're good to go. And I'm going to quickly show you how you're going to convert that thing. uh, Here, click this button, export view. Here, file. Oh, you cannot see probably. uh, yeah, I think now you can see. File, export, file, export, file format, JPG, TIFF, PNG, either of these three, JPG, TIFF, or PNG. Click on that button, save on the desktop, and export it. Simple. So it will be exported, and you can use any template. We'll share with you some of the template. Okay. So yeah, if you have any question and answer, we will quickly go through all the question and answers. Um Preeti, are you there? Or Richa, if you are there? Do we have to make oral presentation for the case report being selected for poster? Kinjal has responded probably. If the abstract is selected for poster, you only have to make poster, but you have opportunity to talk 2 minutes on your poster. Okay, 2 minutes, and you will have judges and prizes as well. Okay. Uh, where can we give this kind of presentation? I have never heard about such presentation and poster in my college. I am a dental student. You can you can have oral and poster presentation at your dental school or medical school, conferences, local conferences, state conferences, national conferences, and international conferences. All conferences have oral and poster presentation. Are you currently accepting research studies? Probably Kinjal would answer that. Is it possible to share the recording? Yes, I will share that on YouTube and will share with you. Um, follow us that the YouTube page. Uh, just going to put
Sir,
the
how will
link.
we get to know about these conferences?
Sorry.
How will we get to know about these conferences? When are they organized?
Okay. What we are doing, if it is medical conference or if there are medical conferences, we are putting updates. We are putting updates on the website, and depend on subspecialties, we are putting updates. So let's say if it's hemato-oncology, we put it the update that hemato-oncology conferences are there.
Sir, I
So
want to know about dentistry particularly.
Particularly dentistry, probably we can think about something like dentistry as well. There are many conferences in dentistry as well. I'm very sure about that. But probably we can think about starting something for dentistry as well. Make sense? Uh, just give me 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Uh, yes. So we'll try to get the all the updates for dentistry as well. We are putting the Facebook link, so where we are putting the updates for medicine actually. Uh, any other question? Okay, yeah, Kinjal put the email address if you want to put the presentation or submit the presentation. So presentation is still open. Uh, okay, I think all questions are answered. Anyone is having question, they can unmute themselves one by one and then ask the question. No, right? Awesome. So I'm going to stop the recording. I'll upload that and will be posting on the Facebook group. So you will have the idea about if someone missed or someone came at the end or on the middle, then they will have idea. Okay. So all the best, guys. We are going to put some of the posters, example posters too, example oral presentations too on clinical research education and research update Facebook page. So you can download from there. Do not keep everything same. We don't want to same everything same. Okay. So all the best and we'll see you in the conference. Bye. Enjoy rest of the day.